Repair that to sell it. Repair that to sell it. Repair that to sell it. And that. Okay, looks fine. 2.5 guns per family compared to 2.5 cars in the UK. Yeah, that's definitely the truth. So many, but do you know the crazy thing? You say that about the UK with the cars. 2.5 cars plus per family, right? In the UK. Now look at how much space there is to park those cars, right? Most houses, driveway, like my driveway in the UK, I can get 2 cars, and that's one behind the other. So if one person wants to get, if my wife wants to get out, and I came home last, I have to get up in the morning, move my car, so that she can get out, right? And that's not uncommon because they have these long driveways rather than wide, and either that or it's parking on the street. Like so many houses don't even have parking for cars. So you got all these people with all these cars and they got literally nowhere to park them. Right, there we go. That's all emptied. Let's go sell our stuff. And then I compare that to here in the US, and like literally here in the US, I look around at everybody's place. They've got like space for like 4 cars. Like, unless you're like in the middle of like, you know, New York or whatever, that's different. But you know, even the apartment complexes, even in the big cities, they've got all these big multi-story things. I mean, the apartment complex where I'm here, just outside DC, it's got a full multi-story car park, and depending on which floor of the apartment complex you're on, you get a car parking space on the same floor. I mean, it's only a 5-story place, right? But it's still, it is wildly different. And tax in the UK now is getting insane. Okay, there we go. Made a little bit more Solari. You're in central London and have private underground parking and £15 a day for others to get into London. Well, and you know, and the parking, if I was to come to London and park, man alive, I mean, it's, I've paid at least £40 a day to park in London before. And that was on Jermyn Street at the what's the big hotel there? Because I used to park in the hotel car park. Can't think, there's a nice hotel just on Jermyn Street there where I park the car. but I mean, whenever I go to London these days, like my place in the UK, I can get to Waterloo in an hour on the train, and then I just use the tube everywhere. And everybody's different, right? I mean, I personally couldn't live in the middle of a big city like that. It's just not me. I've always grown up I grew up in a village. I've lived in small towns. I've never, I like to be close enough that I can visit the cities, but I don't want to live in a city. You know, I know loads of people, they grew up in the city, and like they come out to the countryside and they're like, man, I hate out here. There's just nothing here. So like everybody's so different, and it does, I think, does depend a lot on how you grew up, right? I say I like to visit the cities. I'm just not one for living there full time. And even where my apartment complex is, it's not in Washington DC. It's like out on the edge. Excuse me, so I hit the mute button. Still recovering. It's the problem with traveling a lot as well. I've just done loads of travel, and as soon as you start traveling, man, with first thing you can be guaranteed, you're going to get sick. Oh, the Air and Space Museum, the Smithsonian, yeah. Because there's two. There's the one that's like in DC and the one that's by the airport. And both are very good, actually. Survey, I'm going to have a bit of water. Nice. Wreck. No testing station. No testing station. No. Rude. Okay. You say it's all bigger and better in the States. I think the big thing for me of why I really like living here, and don't get me wrong, the US is not a panacea. It's not like a total paradise where everything is perfect, right? It's got its share of problems. But there's just places in the world where you feel more comfortable. Like, I feel more comfortable and more at home in the US than I do back in the UK, right? But for me, there's lots of things like lots of things they do seem more logical. Turning right on a red light. Like, why can't I turn left on a red light in the UK? Rather than sitting there for 2 minutes waiting for the light to turn and there's not a single other car on the road, but you're still stuck at the red light. Whereas here in the US, you can turn right. You can do a U-turn anywhere in the US, unless it says you can't. The fact that, you know, you've got things like drive-through banking and stuff like that. Just, you know, in the UK, you're lucky if you can actually get to a bank because they're only open during the time when you're actually working. And most banks aren't even open at the weekends. So, like, you just can't get stuff done. You know, trying to get a doctor's appointment. You try and get a doctor's appointment in the UK. Man, if you wait, like, you could be, like, half dying and you call the doc, can I have an appointment? And it's like, yeah, the current wait time's, like, 2 months. Or a month. And you're like, what? This is crazy. It's a nightmare. Whereas here in the US, like, my wife was sick a few months ago. She called the doctor's surgery. They said, I can see you in 15 minutes. When she arrived, they weren't late. They literally saw her in the 15 minutes on the time the appointment was scheduled. And she had her test done, had her medication prescribed, and was home in like half an hour. It's crazy. You go to a dentist in the UK, right? And your appointment is like 11 o'clock in the morning. You're probably not going to see the dentist until half 11, 12 o'clock because they're always late. Always, always, always. There's stuff like that for me that really gets quite annoying. But at the same time, you know, you can say, well, the UK's got NHS, right? Yeah, but I still pay my national insurance. A lot of people go, the NHS is free. And don't get me wrong, it's not anywhere close to the cost of healthcare in the US. Like, it's night and day. But the NHS isn't free because you are paying national insurance tax on your salary every single month. Man, there's nothing in Sector A6 either. Ugh. Well, that's the thing, because if you think about why is the UK government having to raise taxes so much at the moment? Well, because the NHS is the most expensive thing in the UK. They spend more on the NHS than anything else, more than defence, more than pensions or anything, right? And actually, that's why we're paying such high taxes on everything, because they need to afford it. You know, and the those national insurance tax that I pay every month would go to paying my medical insurance here in the US. So though I believe if I remember correctly, I think the Scandinavian countries have like the best healthcare, right? Am I right with that? Like Sweden and Norway. I mean, I've been to Sweden and Norway, but I've never used their healthcare. I've only been there for a few days at a time. That was A6. Come over here. You paid a third of your salary in South Africa, but had the best care in the world. That's interesting. Third of your salary is quite a lot, though, when you think about it. Is that? And I assume that's a third of your gross salary, right, as opposed to your net. Give me somewhere cool to land. Over here, maybe? Don't want to be too high. Perfect. You're going to fall off, aren't you? Come on, man. There we go. But I still have my house in the UK, because I say it's not a permanent thing here at the moment. If it became permanent here, then I would sell my house. But up until that point, I've still got my house in the UK. Alright, can we find a testing station, please? There we go. There's one. Look at that. Neat. You had your own engineering business, but before that, that is what you paid. Ah, nice. So I guess when you own your own business, it's slightly different. Nice position to be in, to own your own business, no doubt about that. Okay, next testing station. Let's hope that we don't mess things up, and also we don't end up somehow activating the map, despite having our fingers as far away from the M key as you can imagine. There we go. Man, I really wish these testing stations in the deep desert gave you better med packs. At least give me Mark IIs. Oh, hello. Where'd you come from? You're originally from Germany, but living in the US. Reason you're not going back is because you couldn't afford the way of life. Wow. So, I was born in Germany, but that's because my dad was in the Air Force. But I lived in Germany for 3 years. So, I know where you're coming from. I lived near Bielefeld. So whereabouts in the US are you now, Mouse? Oh. Thought I killed him. No, he killed himself. Let's hope from next week it'll be better. All schematics will be out for tier 6, they say. Ah. Well, we're going to have to play the update to see how it goes, right? You're in Florida? Oh, nice. If there's 2 states in Florida that I would pick, 2 states in Florida, 2 states in America that I would pick to live. One of them would be Florida, and one of them would be Texas. If I could pick anywhere, that's where I would go. I really like Florida. It's one of my favorite places to visit. I like the weather in Florida because I like the heat, but I don't like it dry heat, like desert heat. That's why if I lived in Texas, I would live closer to the coast, sort of that Galveston way. But I actually got engaged in fact, I was in Florida last week for work in Orlando. 2 weeks before that, I was on vacation in Florida in Orlando, and I got engaged on Clearwater Beach. So, you lived in San Antonio for 7 years? Nice. Okay, I think that's everything there. I think we're done, aren't we? Yeah, I think we're done. I've been about a bit. Oh yeah, I've been about quite a bit. So I'm born in Germany. My dad was Air Force, then obviously grew up in the UK, but my dad lived in California, so I used to go out and visit him. And then I joined the army, was in the army for 10 years. Flying helicopters, that was my job, doing medevac. And then I spent the last nearly 20 years in sales. And so being in sales, you tend to travel the world quite a bit. So I ended up traveling the world the last, nearly 20 years doing sales stuff. You're in the US Army for 26 years. Nice. Let me guess, you were a tanker with a name like Mouse spent like that, unless your mouse is not relating to the mouse and relating to a mouse. So many never been out of the M25. Oh, yeah. You have to think that the UK is not very big, and a lot of people in the UK, the families don't tend to move very far. They just stay in the same place. Because it's easier to commute, right? You can get a job because the UK is so squashed together. You can get a job, and most people can still commute to that job. So you don't tend to find people move around for work as much as I see in other countries. You're a female and no tanker network engineer. Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, obviously you don't know. I mean, you see names, you don't know what the names are, and especially being in the military, I mean, you'll get that. I mean, how much did you find it was a male-dominated environment in the military? And bearing in mind, I'm speaking from this because my sister was in the Royal Navy for 17 years. So, yeah. So my dad was Air Force, my sister was Navy, and I was in the Army. So you can imagine Christmas dinners are really quite interesting, especially given that both my sister and I were deployed at the same time to the same conflict area. You were the only female in your MOS? Yeah, I mean, it was where I was in my squadron. In my squadron, there was maybe one female in my squadron, but I mean, the pilot course in the UK is quite small. Like, my pilot course is only 6, and it was all men. But in the 2 pilot courses that were after me, there was actually 3 or 4 girl pilots coming through. I mean, there's way more these days that are serving in the army than certainly when I was in. I mean, it was obviously a long time ago. But 26 years, I mean, that's a long time. I only did 10. But then I went into industry, right? So... yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for your service, Mouse. It is absolutely appreciated. I worked with US forces quite a bit over my time, and it was a huge thing for both the Brits and the Americans working together. But I always forget that, like, here in the US, like, obviously, thank you for your service is like a natural thing. Like, everybody does it, everybody says it. It's the culture. In the UK, absolutely not. There is some people that have like a recognition and a respect for the armed forces, but I would say in the UK, it is not. It is rare that you find that now. Only in certain places in the country. I mean, when and you have to think it's like like kind of the nature and how things have happened over the last even 100 years. So when I was in the army, you didn't wear uniform in public unless you were at a special event, right? And that was because of a terrorist threat, but not the terrorist threat that we all know from the modern day, but from one specific to the UK. So, you know, people didn't see people. Oh my God, where did you come from? People didn't see. Oh my God, you're ganging up on me. Just stop it. Can you? Ah! Oh, fuck off! That. There we go. Oh, she dodged out of my drill shot. That's even more rude. Are you gonna die? Like, what? How much HP have you suddenly got? Holy moly! Sorry about that, but yeah, as I was saying, it's a very different thing being in the military in the UK compared to being here in the US. Like here in the US, like, you know, you get on an airplane and you know, active military board first. You would never see anything like that in the UK. Never, never, never. It's different now. It's definitely different now. Like even when I was in Germany and we had our cars, we had to have special number plates to make you look like that you weren't part of the military, even though everybody knew you were. But it's definitely different. You'll definitely see more people out and about in their uniform, but you still wouldn't go out of your way to wear it. But I mean, obviously, the worst of the troubles, as they were called, are over. So I don't, you know, we're not seeing any of that specific terrorist threat in the in England, Wales, Scotland anymore. There are still issues, obviously, in Northern Ireland, but yeah, that was just one of the unique things about the UK. But I think as a result, there was less of a public awareness and interaction with people that they knew were in the military. You know, add that to the fact that the UK military is also the UK military has also become a bit of a joke in a way, in that what people do, you know, you've got, oh my god, what happens in the UK is that the military have become, particularly the army, have become I want to go on strike. So the fire brigade go on strike because they know that the army will step in. The same with ambulance service and all sorts of stuff. So, you know, and the UK military, it's against the law for them to strike. They can't ever go on strike. So despite the fact that your private soldier who's putting his life on the line as much as any firefighter or other you know, emergency service worker, they're not allowed to go on strike. They get paid less. But if anyone wants to go on strike, it's immediately us, all right, the army will cover it. You were born on a US military base to American parents? Ah. You moved back to London 5 years ago from America and can't believe how UK is run. You're leaving as soon as possible. UK has almost no military left. 65k troops. It's not good. Yeah, I think the last thing I saw was the UK military is now, in terms of personnel, smaller than during the Battle of Waterloo against Napoleon, which is kind of a crazy thing when you think about it. But I mean, the state of the oh. Oh my god, I was waiting for him to shoot to break his shield and he didn't. Now he will. Is one of the reasons why my sister left the Navy. Like, the number of people to be able to actually man the ships and stuff, it was not in a good place. So that's why she left. But I don't necessarily think that Starmer himself has ruined the country. I think it's been actually quite a long time coming. I don't think any political party. I don't sit on one side of politics or another. But I think it's been a combination of things over the last 20 years, both Labour and Conservative. Part of the issue is the UK just isn't as big as it once was. It doesn't have the income from the empire that it had before to allow it to do the things they want to do, and they're trying to do things which they can't afford, like running an NHS, like in terms of military, they're trying to do things they can't afford to do anymore, and it's cost them. The country is financially broken, but that's been a 30 plus year thing. You could argue it's a 100-year plus thing, stemming right back to the World Wars, the breakup of the British Empire, and in reality the